Hey YouTube, Slicks here. I just wanted to go over my path of building guide for my Agony Crawler build in Delve. So I just finished this character. I've got it to level 87, and I haven't done Shaper yet or any of the Guardians. It's kind of the end of the league, and I've been playing pretty lazy, but I'm planning on doing them next week, and I'll upload some videos. I've done a lot of T15s. Itsuri was a breeze. I'm planning on doing Itsuri Uber and Shaper, and I'll upload those when I have time. But for now, I'm just going to go over the tree and the items. And hopefully this will give you a good indication of whether or not you like the build. The videos will be, I'll just do some maps at the beginning, and then I'll get a little more involved. But anyways, to start, this build uses Herald of Agony and focuses on buffing the Agony Crawler that's created when you poison an enemy. So in order to poison an enemy, you have to hit them with a skill that has a chance to poison. And I just use the poison. Should be actually Rain of Arrows. I use the poison support on Rain of Arrows, life gain on hit, which provides tremendous life gain on hit. It's incredible. So if I'm firing an average of 5 times a second, and I'm hitting 5 times 4, which is about 20, which is realistic for Rain of Arrows. I mean, you can, if you're on a boss, you're probably hitting 4 out of the 21 arrows it fires at least. So it's pretty significant life gain from that. Curse on hit with projectile weakness. So for a 5 link is perfectly reasonable. You can also do faster attacks if you want. That will give you more consistent virulence stacks, but I find that I'm hitting 38, 39 almost 100% of the time, but usually 40 without the faster attack, so it's not necessary. So I'll go back and go over the tree really quickly. This build is running Herald of Agony and Hatred is supported by Generosity, which makes Hatred apply to my virulence, my Agony Crawler instead of me, and that gives that extra physical added as cold to the Agony Crawler, which is really nice. I basically just focused on getting as much minion attack speed as I could, and grabbed Spiritual Command, which allows the attack speed of the minions to apply to me from my tree, which is great because I'm using Quill Rain as my weapon, so that 3 attacks per second base is modified significantly by increased attack speed. I grabbed this node here. I don't really grab these minion nodes for 12 damage. It's just not really worth it in the grand scheme of things. And I go down here and I focus on getting as much life and endurance charges as possible because I am playing a Juggernaut. And the Juggernaut Ascendancy nodes that I chose was Unstoppable for obvious reasons. I don't know why you wouldn't pick that. Unflinching, Unrelenting, and Unbreakable. Unyielding is, in my opinion, a completely dead node. I don't even know what the point of this is. And Undeniable, we don't need Undeniable because we've got enough accuracy, and it's not our damage that we need to scale. It's the Agony Crawlers, and Unyielding doesn't do anything for the Agony Crawler. So the next thing is Jewels. Jewels. This is Path of Building Jewels. I mean, the ones that I have in game are very similar, but not quite as good. I don't have T1 fizz rolls on them, but the difference is like 0.5% in total DPS, so it's still around 1 million Shaper DPS. But I tried to make them as realistic as possible. Like if you're crafting your own, and you have access to the Delve crafting system, then it should be easy to replicate these jewels for fairly cheap. Just make sure that you're using eye level 83 Ghastly Eye jewels. And this one is kind of sort of up to you, but I chose to go with the Watcher's Eye that allows me to get -8 to skills while affected by Clarity, and I'm running Clarity, and that makes the skill cost, I think, 6 mana per use, which is ideal because you're firing so many times a second. It's especially good in no regen maps because Quill Ring has 2 mana gain on hit, and this allows you, if you hit your targets, to stay on mana without having a mana flask and no regen maps, which is great. So I've got a pretty basic quiver, and you don't need projectile speed, but it's just a nice quality of life because Rain of Arrows, the animation scales off of projectile speed, so normally if you've got slow projectile speed, you're going to be firing and staring at the sky for a long time. It isn't pretty. So the next thing is an Eternal Burgeonet with Herald of Agony reduced mana reservation. I bought mine in League for, I want to say 3 exalts, something like that, and I crafted it with pristine fossils, and it turned out pretty good. The next thing is a Lionized Vision. You'll want that to be your main 6-link. The reason I'm running this is it's like a pseudo 7-link, well, 6.5 really. The level 15 Pierce gives you about 10% more damage on top of your 6 links, and it gives you an inherent Pierce on your Agony Crawler, which is, I mean, I would not run it without Pierce because your clear will be pretty bad. The next thing is the Command of the Pit, and you can have 2 Abyssal sockets, but I tried to make this build as budget friendly as possible, so I figure like a 2 socket Command of the Pit is about 4 to 5 exalts, and a 1 is like 30 chaos. So yeah, probably better to just use this in Path of Building, because if you put 2, it's pretty unrealistic that you're going to get that early in the league, unless you're rich, and I never am. So pretty basic jewel. These boots, they're pretty good. So maybe late league you'll pick something up like this. If you buy something with 25 move speed instead of 30 with the same stats, you're looking at roughly half the price. So, I mean, I paid 1 exalt for a pair of boots similar to this. That's what I'd expect you to pay. This is basically identical to one that I crafted myself. I just used Essence of Fear. I think it's Screaming Essence of Fear to get the minion move speed. I just hammered it until I got like 71 life or above, and the other stats didn't matter at all. Have to use a turquoise amulet because you need Dex and Int in this build. So if you're going to do it, you can grab whatever you like. You can grab a shaped eye level 85, which will give you a chance at rolling item quantity, whatever you like. But just make sure that when you're rolling this, it's at least eye level 77, I think, is the max for life on an amulet. Maybe I'm wrong. But you need it to be a turquoise amulet. The next thing is find a ring that gives you life gain on hit. And resistances and any sort of stats you're missing. Combs Way is a great ring for this build. It gives you a lot of regen, but it's not necessary. Like, you can run 2 rings like this. There's a lot of play that you can have. It's really up to you. Just make sure that your resistances are capped, and you've got all the stats. I think you need at least 155 dex for this build for all the jewels. So these 2 rings will really help pull that together. The next thing is the Belt of the Deceiver. This is fantastic when you're leveling and your resistances are terrible, because you can pick up a corrupted one with an implicit of 16 all-res, and this thing will take you right through endgame, and I think I paid 2 chaos for that. An amazing belt. It's also 10% more damage, because enemies that are intimidated take more damage. Jewels, like I showed you, nothing too fancy here. The Watcher's Eye. And that's basically it. Let's look a little bit over the stats. I know it's not ideal to be showing someone a build in Path of Building, but I find it better just in terms of the user friendliness of explaining a build to do it here than actually in game. I'll save the in-game footage for actually doing some maps and showing Shaper and that sort of thing. But okay, so let's look at the configuration first, because a lot of people are like, what? 1,000,000 DPS on Shaper? What's going on? Yeah, so I don't have anything checked. I mean, 20 poison stacks is the minimum when you're using Rain of Arrows and firing 5 times a second. It's going to be probably more than that. The target is maimed because we've got maim linked onto our Herald of Agony, and they're intimidated from our belt. That's it. Not shocked, not bleeding, nothing else. I haven't messed with these at all. I don't have any flasks at all enabled. And my Agony Crawler is doing 1,000,000 DPS to Shaper, which is great. It's fantastic. It's real. I see a lot of Path of Building warriors putting the most like just unrealistic numbers in here. Checking, they're shocked. Yeah, no, you're not shocked. The boss is not taking 50% more damage. So, for instance, a lot of builds will have these numbers like Molten Strike, for example, where you multiply the number of balls you're firing by the damage of the ball, and you're like, look, I've got 12 million DPS, and like 33% of those balls are actually hitting the target. So, and I mean, if you're lucky, this DPS is real DPS. Like when you hit the boss, it really does hit the boss for that much. It's great for stunning, because this attack is literally hitting Shaper for 500k per attack. Because you're attacking twice a second and you've got 1,000,000 DPS. I mean, it's pretty great. And I've stunned pretty much every boss up to Shaper. I've seen them stunned by the minion. It's hilarious. So you could even build around Herald of Agony and just not scale attack speed and just build a stun build if you wanted to. Herald of Agony is great. The next thing I'll go over is just the stats briefly. This doesn't have any life leech whatsoever. It's got life gain on hit and life regen. So the life regen, let's make it a little more realistic here because I've got Enduring Cry selected, so get rid of that. Yeah, so you're regenning at a bare minimum when you've got endurance charges is you're regenerating almost 900 life a second, which is extremely good. And then you're hitting the enemy with life gain on hit plus your ring, and I'd say it's about 500 or 600 life gain on hit from that as a bare minimum. So your effective life regeneration is in the neighborhood of 1400 without having Enduring Cry active or any flasks, which is nothing to sort of scoff at. I think it's pretty realistic for endgame and survivability. You've got a pretty healthy life pool with 7600 life, and mana reservation is you've got 103 to play with, which is way more than you're going to need because your main skill is only costing you, let's see here, mana cost 21. Now is that because I haven't activated Clarity? It probably is. Yeah, that's more like it, 13. And in game it's not actually 13. The tooltip I have in game is 6. So that's probably coming from the fact that my Rain of Arrows is actually a level 1. There we go. So that's it. Go have fun. It's an extremely cost-effective build. It's not very expensive. The 6-Wing Quill Rain is easily obtained early league. I'll tell you, the best way to get a Quill Rain 6-linked is to save up about 120 chaos, buy 6 the Porcupine divination cards, get your 6-link short bow, and then you're going to want to buy as many chance and scours as you can afford and just chance it. And I promise you, it would be highly unlikely that you would spend more than 200 chance before you hit the Quill Ring. I've chanced every league for the last 3 leagues. I've chanced 6-link Quill Rains, and it's almost, I think maybe one time it took me 220, and then I had like 2 in a row. So it's really easy to do. When you see them in the start of the league for like 2 exalts or something, you can do that for half. You can even do that to make money if you want to. It's a great way to make money early in the league. It's not expensive, and you can easily do Shaper on a 5-link with the Quill Rain. It's really simple. So that's my recommendation. For endgame, the quality of life that Pierce inherently adds in Lionized Vision is incredible. There's no gem swapping for mapping, which is really frustrating early on, because if you're doing mapping and then you want to go like do Atziri or something, you're probably going to want to take out Pierce that you have socketed in your 6-link Quill Rain and throw in something else. And that's just, nobody wants to be doing that. I don't want to have to worry about swapping gems. So at the end game, you should focus on getting this. They're usually about 3.54 exalts. 6-linked, you can gamble if you want. You can try and get a 6-link Crusader plate and chance. I would highly not recommend that. I would say please don't try that. I've tried and I spent around 850 chance and I got nowhere. So cheaper to either try and 6-link yourself or just buy it. But yeah, I'm going to load some videos of the build up, but this is the path of building. And in the description I'll have a link for it so you can go and mess around with it and give it a shot. Hopefully you like it. And good luck.